So this lady asks, this black lady, are white women really that scared of black women? And I'm going to say yes. And this is my opinion as a white woman who is 53 years old and has lived in the South in Georgia in my entire life. But it's not being scared, but it's a fear. And it's not a physical fear, it is the mental fear. It is what we see in you and what we see you doing and how it challenges us and the fear of that. So we see black women and we see how strong you are. We see you coming together as a community. We see you supporting each other. We see you supporting your community, supporting your families, supporting your children, going out and fighting for your rights, being authentic in your race and in your femininity. Anyway. And we're...
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I just hope that you're doing fine wherever you are today. Now today I have an important discussion that I want us to talk about, that I believe that it's important. The fact that we are having a couple of white folks always sharing their insecurities, especially when they try to compare black men and black women. I know beauty comes in different shades, and both black men and black women have shown achievement in the human history, regardless of color. However, there has been rising insecurity, right? Some white folks shows their insecurity towards black people, how they feel about black people, how they feel like if they had equal chance, black people could have beaten them, like literally in everything. And this creates what is called fear. And we've talked about professors who have always come out to talk about white fear and how some white folks fear that they might be overtaken by black folks based on factors like beauty, based on factors like different achievements that have been done in human history. And I think this video is going to explain why, and there's this woman who is featured in this video, and she explains this so clearly, why she feels scared of black women. And I think you'll come to understand a perspective and what she says about this, because I believe that the points that she makes are clear, and I think it's a reflection of what some white women feel about black women, right? And generally white people feel about black people, because when we dive like directly to gender, it really matters. And a couple of things that have happened in history that has proven that some white folks might have been having what is called white insecurity, or white fear, right? So I want us to dive right into this video. And if you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. Until then, let's dive right into it.
Because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire lives. And I'm not giving white women a pass, don't get me wrong, but I know I and most women have been told, white women have been told our entire lives, be quiet, know your place, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, don't be too much. And when you are any of those things, you are ostracized because you have rocked their boat. And that is what black women are. You rock our boat, our mental boat, because you challenge us to look at how we are deficient and not living in our truth, and it makes us uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable, and it makes us start to question ourselves, and people don't like to question themselves. We would rather live in our little bubble of white supremacy and what we know and comfortableness. I know that's not a word. Than a lot of people would, white women would, rather than challenge themselves to grow and know more, because it's easy. Doing the work is hard. It's really hard. I've been doing the work the past several years, and it's hard. It is hard admitting some truths about yourself and some truths about yourself as a white woman. So yeah, I think that white women are scared of black women because you challenge us in that way, and a lot of us don't like it. And that's why we fear you. It's because we fear what you make us face.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the black women as supporting characters. So I internalized the idea that black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most black women are natural leaders. Society has forced them to become leaders, and so we need to step aside and let them lead, even if it means checking our privilege and letting them lead us.
This is not an attack on white women. This is simply
I live between 3 countries, and she's not lying, especially European women. I have friends from Europe, so I am not racist. I am just simply giving my experience. Most people globally have watched African American women and women of African descent on TV, and they think that that is how all African American women behave. So when they meet a woman who's educated, well-spoken, beautiful, well-manicured, they don't know how to handle it. They also are extremely jealous that their husbands, their fathers, their uncles, all of the men in their lives literally stare at you the entire time that you are out in a restaurant or wherever you are, market. They are highly attracted to women of African descent. White women do not know how to handle this. In America, I have experienced this in corporate America, but in Europe, you experience this in the markets. They literally act like toddlers or mean girls.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting.
I have a theory about white people who decide to theorize their dislike for black people as if the answer isn't just plain old race. Black women and white women aren't having a hard time getting along. Black women are trying to navigate through spaces, and unfortunately they have to deal with people like you who decide that it's necessary to theorize your dislike for black people instead of just saying, yeah, it was plain up race. And then to follow that up with that you saw in the media that white people were the main character and black women were the side characters. I mean, doesn't art imitate life? You didn't learn it from media. You learned it from life. Why do you guys shift the blame? Why can't you don't even say in general that you said you internalized. And that feels like a symptom of white guilt, the over-theorizing, and then not just being able to say, I was being raped.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting.
This video is really fascinating because it demonstrates the tie between self-esteem and racism. And I've said before on my page that kind of racism creates a world where white people get to outsource their insecurity and their fears onto black people, that black people become the reservoir that have to hold all of white people's discomfort about themselves. And, the function of white supremacy is to create an underclass of people who white people can compare themselves to and say, at least I'm always better than them. And, we see this in corporate America where it's harder for black women to get promoted even when they're excellent because they're seen as threatening. There's actually a theory around this and it's called pet to threat, and it was created by Dr. Keisha Thomas. And so it's interesting that the research even shows, there's some tie between black people and black women being excellent and also them being socially and societally rejected. Anti-racism requires emotional awareness.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. You've heard for yourself what the woman have said, and I think it's important for us to note the key points of fear that she shares in regards to how she feels about black women. And as a black woman who's trying to talk about this, I feel like it's important that black women also take note of a couple of achievements that they have done in human history. And like, the history itself didn't want you to know how great you are or how great you can be, because all you've ever been used like an object. And history will not want you to know about this. History will not want you to talk about this, because this is something that they fear. Because if you know the true history as a black woman or as a black person, it's important for you that you can use this to your advantage. And the enemy doesn't want you to know this, because I feel like if only black people would have known that we have a couple of races that just admires how we are, that just admires what we can do, that just admires, regardless of harsh history, regardless of the slavery, regardless of Jim Crow that black men and women have gone through the history in the United States. There's a lot of things that they have come up and proven to themselves that they have ever done better. Look at the Moors. The Moors taught the world how to bathe. The Moors taught white people how to bathe, right? Initially, if you ask the people that civilized the world, they won't tell you like it's a black person. That's what they won't tell. They'll just be telling you, it's white people. We have a couple of scientists who did this and that, who came with math, who came with science, who did this and that, right? But they won't tell you the contributions that black folks really came up with, right? And they'll even try to argue out that these people that came up with civilization didn't come from Africa, like they were not black people. And it seems like this is something that they want to do. They want to do to you, to build something, to build a seed that you are not great, to build a seed that you belong somewhere, whereas that's not entirely the truth, whereas that's something that you should remove from your head as a black woman or as a black man, generally just speaking, right? And I feel like this is the right time for you to own your blackness, for you to know that there are people who will just kill to have what you have, to look like you. I'm not even talking about the importance of melanin that you have. I'm not talking about even how black women are strong, really spiritual than any other race. I'm not talking about how God is really attracted to black people as compared to any other race. I'm not even talking about those couple of white folks who have dreamt that they only saw black people in heaven, right? And in as much as this is happening, and I'm not even talking about how black people are so much human as compared to other races and other things that are really, really important that we need to talk about. One of the greatest achievements that black people has ever done, and history will not want you to know this, because they know there is power in knowledge, and they have always tried to distort this. However, time is catching up with all this. Time is catching up with all this in the sense that the truth cannot be hidden anymore. and they are coming out. They are confessing their insecurities. They are confessing their fears. They are confessing the confrontations that they have had with with black women, and the excellence that black people have ever shown, regardless of the atrocities, regardless the resilience that black people have shown in history, right? They have tried to sprout out, regardless of all these challenges in human history that they've had. And if you want to know why these people still admire people, why is it that when white people come to Africa, especially in these black dominated places, they are always welcomed? And why is it that when black people go to their countries especially, why is it that it becomes so difficult? It becomes so hostile. It becomes like a place that they cannot even stay, because everything just becomes totally difficult. This makes you understand that there is something that black people have that white people can never have. And I understand some people will come and argue that, some things just, some traits is human. It's not tied to color. True, it's not tied to color. But look at the history. When we try to compare, when we put statistics, when we try to compare all these, you get to know the truth, and you get to know really what I'm talking about. So as a black African person who's watching this video right now, getting to learn that it's important for us to note that there is a great achievement that we black folks have always done in human history. And the people who had the control of the paper and the pen, they decided to write their history. And they tried. And I've seen a couple of white people trying to share their encounter with black people, and how some of them will say that they've never seen such a beautiful people like black people. They have never seen such a beautiful woman like a black woman, right? And it's not like they've never stayed with a couple of white people. They have. And now what makes it different is that they've spent some time with black people, and they're getting to see that side that, so you mean it has always been like this, right? So I feel like there's so much that we black people, we need to know much about ourselves, because trust me, the enemy knows more about our history more than we know. And that's why they decided to hide it from us, because they know very damn well that if we knew the truth, they were done, right? And so they know every move that we are always having. They know our power, they know the frequency, and they know when to tap into it. And they're always in the middle of black business. Like, look at what's happening in Africa. Look at what's happening in Congo. They are always in our countries, right? They're always some step ahead in our countries, and they're always wanting to tap on everything that we are having. And this is a proof. I don't know. This is something even a blind person can see. And if you're a black person who still don't understand what's really happening, you should know that you are always the head. It is that the story has been rated upside down, but we black folks, we are always the head. And this confession and this revelation that this white woman gives is just but one example of black excellence. It's just that one example of what black people are capable of. I don't know where you're watching me from, which city you're watching me from, which town you're watching me from, but I feel like this is something that it's really, really important that need to sink in our heads as black people, generally, regardless of where you come from. And hey, white folks are watching this video, you know damn well what I'm talking about. You know damn well that I'm saying the truth, and the person who has talked is one of you, and is saying the truth, right? And I feel like you also need, and it takes a courage from a white person to just come out and talk about this, because you know very well that it's not easy to talk about these topics, especially to white folks, right? Because of what is called the cognitive dissonance. Because for the longest time you've lived knowing that you are one of the most greatest people. For the longest time you've lived knowing that you are one of the most important people. And you've planted this seed that, as a black person, you're not greater than a white person, right? So it is time for us as black people to reclaim our throne. It is time for you as a black queen to wear, right? To wear and keep your throne with you. Claim your power as a black person. Claim your true power as a black person. This is the time. And as we move into 2025, I think it's important for you to notice this, for you to know this, that it's important for us. It's important for you and me. One, it will boost your self-esteem so that you'll not be coiling around a bunch of white folks who thinks that they are greater than you, who thinks that their opinions is more great than you, right? So this is the time to reclaim your power as a black person. And I feel like it's important for you to note this. It's important for you to know this because indeed it's important, right? So tell me what you think about this video. I'll most definitely appreciate what you say. I like to hear your opinion in regards to this. I would love to read people's comments, but I'll let it at that because I want you to share with me what you feel. What's your encounter with white folks? How have they viewed you? And you don't need to be assured of this because this is true. Whether white folks talked about this or not, trust me, deep down they know this. Deep down they know that this is the truth. These are percentage into stories. This is your percentage into stories, and I'm hoping that you are fine. Wherever you're watching me from. Again, I'll remind you, if you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, join our membership as we get to move with this journey. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.